What does he really do for this team?
Yeah, to have Malone back is huge. And obviously, that was just his first game back. He'll just keep getting better and better. But, he scored. He's such a presence. We do have a younger group. Centers are hard to miss. When you have centers out of the lineup, that's challenging. He's our number one faceoff guy. He's one of our best penalty killers. He's one of our best offensive players. He's tenacious as a player. So he's a player that helps us play on the inside and kind of points us to our identity as a team. So I think I just think he's tremendously underrated. And I think he's a massive reason we've had the success we've had in the last 2 years. I think that some of the injuries he's had before, lower body ones, are a little more difficult to come back from in terms of the load and the workload and trying to play every night. I think this being an upper body injury, he does have a better opportunity to be in the lineup every night instead of having to ease him back into it. So we have a great training staff, great strength coach, and those guys communicate with Sean all the time and then with me. So right now, I anticipate him being in the lineup on a night-to-night basis, but we'll have to adjust potentially if that's the case.
It's really tough to be thin at the center position. Who has really stepped up? Wow, Malone has been out.
Well, credit to Yuri Kulik, who's 18 years old, playing center. That's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to play in this league at 18 years old, and it's certainly not easy to play center. Mason Jobst has given us, really, really high quality minutes. Brendan Warren's filled in at center at times this year. You go right down the line. Obviously, Byro's been the mainstay and a real driver for us. Lukasz Rusek has had to play some shifts at center. So, it's just been by committee a little bit. And that's the strength of this group. Is this group's kind of a group that's willing to do whatever it takes for each other.
Last week, you took a couple steps back. You're hoping to take a couple steps forward this week. What did last week, despite the 3 losses, really teach this team?
Well, we'll see. I don't think you ever totally know as a coach. You have a gut feel, but you're not taught a lesson until you can apply it. It's one thing to learn it, but if you've really been taught it, then you apply it going forward, and we have to do those things. So, I think that we needed to address some of our defensive deficiencies and some of the sloppiness from a team defense standpoint. That's not the D-core, that's our team defense. And I thought we did a really good job of that last week. Our shots against were down dramatically. Laval wasn't a perfect game, but we did hold them in the 20s, which is very unusual for them. Bridgeport was in the low 20s. And Hartford, barely got to 30. The expected goals of all 3 of those games was very, very low from an analytics perspective. So I think we did some real strong things defensively, and we were able to apply some of the things that we talked about and worked on last week. Sometimes unintended consequences are when you focus on something a lot, that might get real good, another area might slip. Obviously, offensively, we weren't good enough last week. So I'm hopeful that we can apply the defensive teachings going forward without having to focus and work on it every day in practice, and then be able to do more of our normal identity, skill development type practices, which usually fosters better offensive results.
Friday night, the team played really well. What was done really well?
I think Friday against Bridgeport, you could easily argue that it was our best game of the year. With the exception of Corey Schneider just being stellar in nets. It was just a really committed, physically committed, mentally committed efforts. We were great defensively. We created tons of offense. We didn't finish on it, obviously. There was just a real energy about the group that night. This is a quiet group. We're trying to force them to be louder and to be more talkative, to be on the ice, but also on the bench. Younger teams tend to be a little more quiet, but then some of the personalities of our group are quieter, right? And so we need more of that, because I think the louder you are on the ice and the bench, the more connected you are to each other. And so that night just had a real feeling of connectivity and togetherness, and very committed to our identity as a team. And I think if we play like that 10 straight games, we're going to win 7 or 8 of them. Personalities. I mean, Michael Mersch is a phenomenal captain. He is more of a reserved, actions more than words type of personality. Ethan Prow is a little bit that way as well. Sean Malone's a little that way. Those guys will all speak when need be. And then we're young. And I think the young guys, sometimes you're worried about talking if you're not totally sure what you're supposed to be saying, right? And, it's getting better. Larry Pilot is phenomenal at it. He adds a ton of that to us, which is great. But I think we all need it to be more. The less it's coming from me or from Mercy, and it's coming more from the collective, the better. And guys got to push themselves to be uncomfortable, because you can have your own personality off the ice, but when you get on the ice, you got to be something else. You got to almost be a different personality at times and will yourself into the beast mode or the competitive mode that you need to be in. And we need our guys to have more communication. The game gets way easier when you talk, and we have to get better at that.
Taking on the Penguins, who you haven't taken on all season, what are you expecting from that?
Well, I know Wilkes-Barre's having a good year. I think the record's real similar to ours. I know their coach, JD Forrest, very, very well. Kevin Porter, their assistant coach. So well coached, good coaching staff. Tokarski has had a really good year in net for them. Not a surprise to us. We didn't have Ticker long, but we loved having Ticker when we had him. Just a great teammate and a heck of a competitor. So we know that there's going to be plenty of challenges that they're going to bring on Wednesday.